more combined.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
They don't understand.
They didn't put that.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit. You're right.
It's so frustrating because it's like, did you guys check a map?
Right.
I love how they're like, oh, well, we've got, okay, I think we're coming up there.
We're about to go on. All right.
That's 5, and what one's that one?
3.
Can you see me on the camera over here?
What's that?
Can you see me here?
Yep, perfect. Can't hear shit.
Yeah, I don't know how to maneuver the headphones. I'm just using it to hear the startup. Oh, there we go. That's us. Hello and welcome to, you're tuning into The Divide with Marcus C. Williams, and we're here on WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. Brian, homie Brian is in the house. Brian, say what's up to the folks out there.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hope you can hear me.
All right, so we've been working on the equipment over here this morning. So if you can't hear us, or if you're not able to hear good, let us know. Hopefully everything's good, and we're going to get on with the show. So welcome. Here we are in lovely, cold, upstate New York, which actually had 50-degree weather the other day. I couldn't believe it. The middle of winter, and here we are, 50-degree weather. If this is climate change, boy, oh boy, I am not mad. I am glad right now. I heard that it is hot because it's cold, so it sounds good to me. I'm very excited on what's going on. Yeah, I'm very excited on what's going on. We're working on some of the microphones over here, so bear with us this afternoon. But let's jump right into it. So what have we got going on in the realm of politics and policy today? So, you know, we've got a whole bunch of stuff on the national scale, but right here on the local scale, we've been having a whole bunch of break-ins all across the city of Rochester where I live. Crime and public safety is one of the utmost serious issues in our area right now, and many people are complaining about it. Brian, the other day I heard that these 3 kids from Syracuse, and I say kids when I don't really mean kids, they weren't baby girls, they were young adult humans. But they were from Syracuse. They broke into this marijuana store on Park Ave, was it?
Yep.
On Park Ave. They caught them. One was 15, one was 17, and I can't remember the other one.
It's insane because I mean it's obviously so so planned and you know they didn't just say, oh, I'm going to come to Rochester and hang out and then break in. You know, I mean they planned this stuff out. And because they know at their age what's going to happen.
Nothing will happen, and this largely goes into the policies that have been pushed from the state level. So that's the state assembly and the state senate, you guys. They passed the laws that are to do with this so-called criminal justice reform. Now, with the criminal justice reform, we've got a couple of different ones, and let's jump right on them real quick. We won't go into detail, but I encourage you to check them out. Bail reform, which basically
everyone knows about that one.
Everybody knows about bail reform. Basically lets you out, you're on an appearance ticket, you don't stay in jail or anything.
Now, there are some crimes that these local very far left judges could hold some of these people on.
Oh, they could, yes.
But they're not. They're not doing it.
Why would they want to hold them?
Exactly. So sometimes you say, oh, bail reform, but honestly, there's many times where they could be held, but they're like, nope, we're going to release them anyway. So you got the mixture of those two problems there.
I talked to Letitia James one time, right in her face, talked to her face to face like a real human being. And she said, you know what? The problem isn't the laws. The problem is the judges. Now, to me, that struck me as odd because she's the highest, highest elected,
higher than her,
elected justice official in the whole state. Like, if it really was the judges, I haven't seen you on TV coming out about this or chastising them for not holding them. So that's a real big issue. Then you have less is more. okay?
Yep.
And that's another big serious issue, okay? And we've also got the raise the age, and raise
Yeah,
the
that's
age
one of the
is
biggest
one of the
ones right
biggest
there.
ones.
Yep.
Yeah, so
That literally formed the Kia Boys and all
exactly.
those.
Because when you're under 17, excuse my language, when you're under 18,
Yeah.
right, 17 and under,
Yep.
you can get out of jail. You don't go to jail. They can't hold you.
It's
They can't
family
do
court.
anything.
You go
It's
home with
family
your
court.
parents
That's
that
right.
day. I mean, even no matter what the crime is, basically, unless you straight up murder someone and they're charging
Yep.
you as an adult, you are going home with your parents that day. It's ridiculous.
And this is a very harsh reality. I had a friend the other day who's one of their family members ended up being arrested for a crime, you know, and they have been struggling because of addiction and substance abuse and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So they got into the criminal lifestyle to fund what they have going on and
Yep.
stuff like that. So, and they just got released, and they said this has been going on for for the last couple of years since they instituted the bail reform and stuff like that. And they said they're not getting the help they need, and
No,
at least if
no,
they
no,
were
no.
off the street, they might be able to detox some.
Yeah, I've talked about that numerous times. You know, in the past, I said, especially with the Gates pleas. Now they're very into, you know, a recovery and all that stuff.
They got a lot of good programs out.
Yeah, and Chief Van Bretero used to actually drive people to you know, recovery centers himself. But what they used to do is they catch someone committing a crime, petty larceny, whatever, or possession, and they knew they were an addict, and they give them a choice. Either we're gonna put a bail on you, and you're gonna sit in jail for a little bit, or we can take you right to a rehab center. And what that would do is they say, okay, well, I don't want to sit in jail, you know, going through withdrawal. I'd rather go to rehab. But now, without that bail, without saying, oh, they're gonna have to sit, what leverage do they have? The police have no leverage there.
Now, so we've also had a lot of home break-ins, which has been a very, very big thing. It never used to be like that in Rochester or the surrounding areas, even in the suburbs right now. The lady that was hogtied at her house.
Oh
and
my
what was
God.
that, Webster, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Webster. So Webster is a real nice suburb if you're not from around
We
here.
had a home invasion in Henrietta as well, not too
Yeah.
long ago.
You know, somebody told me in Avon the other day that they
Wow.
had. That it's really, crime is traveling because people know that they won't be able to be held accountable.
Exactly. So why not go out where more money is?
Yeah. Now, this also goes into a larger conversation, which is a large concern from the community in Rochester and the surrounding areas. And that is comprehensive prison reform. Can we talk about that for a minute, everybody that's listening? I really want to talk about that. Because we have a lot of issues that are going on with that right now. As people go to jail and they get out, there are no services for them. They are not being connected to work. Many of them are being put in these transitional housing places that are no more than a den of thieves and a den of drugs.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got no real secure housing for them or anything. The programs that they do have some decent programs in some of the jails where you can go in and learn a skill or get a degree or whatever the case is. But there's no connectivity to jobs on the outside.
Yeah, exactly. You're not coming out. It'd be nice if they could connect you to you know, a tool die shop if you're learning that. And that you don't see that at all. Basically, you see people going back to their old lifestyle because that's what they know. You know, believe it or not, some of these people coming out of prison that have been in there for years, they miss prison almost. It's like it was comfortable. It was a lifestyle that was regimented, that was something they, you know, just did every day of their life, and they come out and it's almost like anxiety craze. They don't know what to do except for to go back to their old lifestyle, and it's unfortunate.
It's really terrible. Now, here's the big thing. You hear a lot from, and remember, you guys that are listening, this isn't a slam on Democrats, but this is talking specifically about Democrat policies. The Democrats are in power. They're the ones that are instituting these laws. They claim that, people are stealing from the drugstores and from Family Dollar to feed their families and stuff like that. But you see, they're stealing oil and lotion.
Yeah, that's
all this
99% of the time not true.
That doesn't go anything to feed anybody. Now, here's the concern there, right? If you were concerned about that, the reality of crime is many of the people in jail may have been doing all types of different criminal activity to feed themselves or pay for their lifestyle or stuff like that. Whether it was good, whether it was the proper direction to go or the only option that they had, or whatever the case is.
Yep.
But the fact is that now these people who only know about providing for themselves, who may have been providing for themselves from a very young age or having to provide for their whole family, now they're getting out, and now they don't have any jobs or anything. So what are they supposed to do?
Yeah, what are they gonna do?
What are they gonna? All they know is spending for themselves.
I was in a pawn shop, local pawn shop the other day, looking for a telescope for the eclipse. My dad and I want one, so I'm looking for a telescope. And behind me in line is a couple people, and they have tons of new items. I mean, I'm talking tons of new items that they just put on the thing, and they get money for. You know, it's just like, and I'm like, yeah, you know, they didn't go buy these. What these, you know, just it's you know exactly what's going on there. But again, like you said, it's whether they're funding for their addiction or whatever, they're funding to fund their lifestyle in their life. It's due to a lot of other things, other policies, especially from the left, that it's come to that point.
This is a fact. Now, a lot of this, and again, we're talking about comprehensive prison reform. When people come out, they're not put into a position where they can excel and they can exceed expectations and actually be good people in society and productive members of society. But we also see the same stuff with school system.
Yes,
you know, the school system right now is so terrible. You know, kids are getting graduated, they are not able to read, they are not able to write. So what do you expect them to do if they're not able to provide for themselves and their family?
You're talking about whole entire schools that that do not pass the math and reading level they're supposed to be at, that are below that level. Entire schools. Not one person in the whole school is at the level they're supposed to be at.
Yeah,
why? You got to ask why.
Why? Well, who sets those policies?
Exactly. I mean, you got the teachers union, the Democratic institution. That first of all, there shouldn't be a federal board of education. That just shouldn't exist, because it's not it's not a national federal issue. It's a state issue. It's a local issue. Right. And if you look at school choice, I say it's the civil rights fight of our time, because school choice would allow these children and their parents who want them to get a real good education, who want them to be on a good athletic team, who want them to be in a system where they can thrive when they graduate, and are going to be actually capable to thrive and have the skills to thrive. Why should they not be allowed to go to that school just because they live in a different area, zip code?
Well, you know what really goes into that is we see a lot of these charter schools that are very high performing and stuff like that, and they just don't have the funds because they don't have the same funding mechanisms that they do from the state, from regular school districts.
And they're regulated now. They're being regulated more and more and more and more. It's out of control. Whereas under the last administration, it was, they were starting to thrive.
Well, the fact of the matter is because why would they want to take away the funding mechanism from the centralized school district, and then actually have, excuse me for saying this, but productive members of society putting back into society? Perish the thought of actually increasing the tax base by employing people and creating people that can be hired for these so-called $1 billion jobs that they have that nobody can get because they don't have the education for. Let me ask you a question. When you were in high school, did they have a thermodynamic battery engineer course at your high school?
No.
They didn't have mine.
No.
And I got a lot of smart friends, and I was in a smart kid program or whatever you call it, the IB program, International Baccalaureate.
AP program,
and I did APs too and stuff like that. But I got friends that work at all types of companies, Lockheed, Boeing, Goldman Sachs, stuff like this. So you're talking very highly intelligent, high performing individuals, lawyers, doctors, all of that. But here's the thing. None of us have education to be a thermoelectric whatever engineer, and these are the type of jobs that are out here in our community that Biden and that Kathy Hochul is saying is so great. But where are they going to fill these jobs from? Because it's not from our school systems.
No, it's not.
It's not from our local colleges.
No, because what happens is you have the basic programs in high school, and then you're released to college. Now, 90% of people who pick a major their freshman year in college, they're not going to end up in a career in that field. They're just not, because they end up they're like, wait, I don't want to do that.
Brian, how dare you talk about people that have a master's degree in ancient Greek, Hellenic, fine art, specifically from the west coast of the very specific one city in the middle of nowhere. But
no, it's true. It's true. I mean, Bud Light had remember the Real Men of Genius commercials, and that one was like the Real Men of Genius. It was like, what do you do with a master's in art history? You get a nose ring and pour coffee for a living.
Yeah.
Now I don't mean to bash people who have a master's in art history, but it was a commercial and it was funny because it had
funny
some real,
it's true.
it had a lot of realism to it. So.
And this is what we're dealing with in our society, and I'd like to get to the bigger conversation. Are the policies that are being inputted actually impacting the communities that we live in a positive way? Now, we think about Rochester and all of the struggles that we have going on here. The socioeconomic disparity, we're one of the poorest cities in the nation. Yep. And it seems, and this is unfortunate, but it's a reality, it seems that the city is dead set focused on pushing the people out of the city that are impoverished, that are the working class, so that they can say, oh, look, we solve poverty.
Yes,
is that how things work? Is that what we're supposed to do?
I guess so. Well, if you looked during the congressional race, our congressional district was second to last for young black men to live in the area, the congressional district. And the last one was Elon Omar's, but we won't talk about that.
Did you see the school district reporting? It was like 442 school districts or something, and Rochester came in second to last.
It doesn't surprise me one bit. I mean,
but we get the most money
tons of money
in the country. If you guys are listening, we are number 2. It might be number 1 this year. We are number 1, number 2.
Yeah, per capita when it goes.
Per capita per student, as far as funding from your tax money for the nation, not for New York State, for the nation. And we have the lowest performing results out of the nation. Make it make sense.
And the answer is close schools, and just some of the stuff they do, it's like they're losing teachers at an astronomical rate. But, it has nothing to do with them feeling unsafe and the crime and all that. It's just, people are getting older and they're retiring. I mean, come on.
Did you see the guy, and I know some people are going to feel some type of way, but this was real, and the guy was being real, and this was real. So we're going to pull it clean right now. Did you see the guy, the principal, I can't remember where it was, but he was talking about the students, and they were trying to make the guy out like he was a racist, okay? I don't know if the guy is a racist or not, okay? So I'm not going to sit here and defend that, but I am going to say that from what I heard on the clip, it didn't sound like he was a racist.
No.
It sounded like he was talking about the same issues wherever he is that I see here. He was like, I'm sick and tired of these black students that are underperforming, that can't perform, okay? And I'm sick and tired of these teachers. The teachers, now this is important. These teachers that don't give a good golly gosh about anything, and they don't want to actually, he said, how hard is it to teach the kids to function on grade level?
Yep.
So he's basically talking about the kids that are not able to perform, but the teachers are the ones creating the situation.
Yes, that's the reason.
But because he said that the students were black, that makes it racist, which takes away from the whole conversation, which he is pointing out that they're underperforming because the teachers are not doing their job adequately.
Yes.
And he's up there getting the brunt of everything because he's the one that's supposed to be the top in charge. But because of the way that the teachers' unions and stuff are, he can't force anything on the teachers.
No, he can't force anything on the teachers.
So, and because the teachers are, and this isn't all teachers, right?
No, not even close. Not even close to all teachers. But
this is what would you call it? A microcosm of what we're experiencing in many urban districts and probably other districts in other places.
All you need is a small percentage of the teachers to be like that, and it ruins the whole thing.
But it goes back to what you were saying. Many teachers are scared of working because many students are misbehaved. You can't send them out of class. Right now, you can't have any in Rochester. We've got solutions, not suspensions.
Yeah, I mean,
so you can't
no
suspend
police
anybody.
there. It's just
they took the police out of the schools too. Yeah. They tried to bring some of them back, but that was.
Well, no, they said they don't want the kids to see, to be, have to see a police officer and be scared and be, this. I'm like, wait, would they rather see a criminal with a gun, or would they rather see a police officer?
Listen, now here's the deal. Years ago, they used to talk about how the schools are starting to look more and more like prisons and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember that with the metal detectors.
Yeah, so we started, when I was in school, we just started to get the metal detectors, and they started to seal up the windows with the stuff so you couldn't get out the windows and all of this and all of that. it's just one.
Like Morgan Freeman style.
Yeah, it's just one big prison.
Yep.
And you're teaching the kids this is what they have to. Now you guys it's even worse because you got to buzz to get through one hallway section to another section.
Yeah. I mean, the kids couldn't. How about when that guy chased that guy with the gun over at Franklin, I believe it was. And they couldn't get the kid couldn't get in because he had to be buzzed in. Yeah. And those two girls. And if you see the still shot, the video's bad enough, but the still shot, I don't know how that bullet missed that kid's head. Because I mean that he was aimed dead on. Boom, pulled the trigger. It backfired twice, and the shot somehow missed.
I feel bad for those girls because many people are not like, and that's also females, right? They don't have that mental temperament for that.
That's gonna stick with them for the rest of their lives.
That's when they talk about trauma. There we go. That's
real trauma. I mean, look at their faces in the still picture. I mean, they are like. They truly think they're gonna die. They believe they're gonna die. This is it. They don't know how to deal with it. Their face. And then when it's over, just all this emotion comes out, and it doesn't all go back in. You're gonna be like that for the rest of your life.
How do you recover from something?
You don't recover unless you have. You don't recover. Talking about when you're 45 years old.
Awful might get softer, but it's not ever going to go away.
Exactly.
You know, and this is something that we need to have a serious conversation about. Whereas they make these schools more like prisons and the kids start performing more like inmates in the school.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of makes you really wonder.
Yeah.
What are they propagating in these schools?
Correct. Yes.
So they're propagating violence, they're propagating ignorance, and this all comes from educational policies and these people, these bleeding hearts that are all like, oh, just give them a cuddle. Let's talk about emotions.
The biggest one is they're propagating lack of accountability.
No accountability.
That is literally the base for the left is you do not have to be accountable for your actions.
I would be satisfied if they actually just stuck to teaching, writing, arithmetic.
That's it.
Reading. Yeah. I mean, simple
and just
skills.
to get them at least on par with the with other school districts and with other areas and with other rural and suburban areas. I mean, may never be to that point, but it should be. Why shouldn't it be? To be honest, why shouldn't it be?
Look at the falling of our suburban school districts.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly.
They're crashing down, and they still got what I would consider relatively high proficiency rates.
Yes, but look at their policies. They're starting to turn. They're starting to turn into that liberal policies where the urban districts did, and it's not like I say all the time, Marcus. This is not new. None of this is new. It's been tried before and it's failed before. This has all been repeated multiple times throughout our history, but they don't want you to know that. You're not allowed to know that. You're not allowed. These kids aren't allowed to know that hate the police it's been tried before and it didn't work. They don't want you to know that all the stuff with these schools has been tried before. And guess what it produced? A whole bunch of people who are now living on the streets, who are at the corners selling drugs, who are doing things like that.
What did Mr. Mustachio say? Mr. Mustachio said that if you repeat a lie enough and long enough and loud enough, people will start to believe it. And that's where we are.
Correct.
Mr. Mustachio himself said that.
Yep, and control. You control the airwaves, you control the population, and that's
it.
That's what's being done. I mean, how many people in the urban areas are turning on Fox News? Probably very little.
Well, I don't turn on Fox News either, but that's because they're owned by the elitist corporatists that really don't give a flying monkey's about us and pushed all those drug cocktails on people, but we're not going to talk about that.
That's true too. Speak of that, we'll get into that later, but I got kicked off of Neighbors for simply saying that some ladies said everyone needs to get their masks and their shots. They have to protect the population. So produced a few facts and stuff and studies. Guess what? I was kicked off. She wasn't. So it was just interesting. Thought I'd throw that in there.
Well, this goes into the next conversation, which is censorship. Yep. There's a lot of censorship that's going on right now where you're not able to talk about things. The other day, the FBI came out and they're like, oh yeah, Hunter Biden's laptop is real again.
We didn't know.
And so this came out again and there's a whole thing on it now. And they came out and they said, now there's all these studies saying that the government and the companies that were providing those pokes and stuff like that knew what was going on with them and things like that. And they didn't disclose all the information to the public like they should have.
Yep.
And the people funding the studies
Yeah. That's why our studies look so
So-
much different than Germany's and Israel's and all those studies, because
Well, look at what was it? Who had the really good ones? Was it Sweden? I feel like it was Sweden.
Sweden and Germany
Sweden
both had really good ones. Yep, they
and
both
they pulled all of that stuff real early for the
real
for the
early,
kids.
because
Real early.
when you see something that isn't working for a certain group of the population, you stop doing it. You stop it. You stop doing it right then and there. I'm not saying what they saw was that people under the age of 45 weren't dying of the virus at all. None, zero. So they were like, why would we recommend people of that age
Yep.
to get a shot that they don't need to get, because they're not going to die. They're not even going to be hospitalized from this. So
The new internet trend, I don't know if you've seen it yet, is that buzz thing where it goes zzz.
yeah,
It's like when those five pokes kick in, or or in another 3 years,
yeah,
and like this is a thing on the internet, and it's funny, but it's
Yeah.
not funny, and it's not just what you would say is, oh, those are deniers or anything like
Yeah,
that.
no,
This
no.
is like real people that believe in that
Dude,
stuff, and
Come on, yeah, the whole
because-
denier thing needs to end, because guess what?
well, it's because the people see what's going on.
Yes.
Whether they believe or they don't believe or whatever the case is it's undeniable. There's a lot of suddenly things going on.
Yeah, the things that just weren't happening before, and
It's
that are
amazing.
happening now.
But when you talk about them, and this goes to the censorship.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't been turned off.
When you talk about, well, I think that we're doing a very good thing, and
Yeah,
we're the
yeah,
way that
yes,
we're
yes,
doing
yeah.
it, and supporting it and stuff like that. And we're also
Yeah, we're not saying don't get it. We're
also
just
switching.
providing some
I
things.
don't have any horse in that race. Listen, if you want to eat rat poison, you go ahead and do that. I do not endorse that. I don't think it's healthy, and I think it might do some serious damage.
I mean, the
to you.
AARP
So,
sending out letters saying literally
But you do-
get your 8th shot. You should
But
be on
you
your 8th
do
one.
what you want, even if insurance companies don't cover it. I mean, hey, I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm just here to shine a light so that you can see that the darkness exists.
Exactly, and there's reasons for it.
So what we've got here right now, and you look at, and we move away from that topic.
Yeah.
But we talk about other things, like we've got all of these election things that are coming up that were inconsistencies in the way that
Mhm.
ballots were handled,
Yep,
in the way that things were processed.
a
and
lot
now
of them.
It's coming out in different court cases and stuff, but you don't see that on the
No, and you still hear in an argument, you'll still hear Joy Behar or whoever say, they said they're talking about the 2020 election when there was no proof of any interference or fraud.
Brian, that's not true. That's not true. What they're saying now is there is no large scale
There you go.
proof of
Mhm.
any.
But for years you had that statement. There's without
Right,
any
but
evidence.
now they
But there
play with the
was
words.
evidence. There's always
There was-
been evidence, and they just when they talk about the judges, these judges shot him out. No, they didn't. The judges just refused to look at it. The judges never even looked at it.
Well, some of them-
They didn't stop. They didn't say no. There's no evidence. They
Some
said
of them
I'm not
just
wanting
said
involved.
that for those particular cases that they didn't have standing in their court.
That's my point. Yes,
So
exactly.
they
They
had to
wouldn't
take
look
it
at it.
somewhere
They
else,
say yes, you got to go
or
somewhere else
whatever
with
the
it.
case is. Yeah, and then other courts wouldn't take it up.
No,
or
they
this,
just
that, and the third.
didn't want to be involved in the election in what was supposed to be a democratic, a constitutional republic election.
Yeah.
Of course, judges
Well-
don't want to be deciding it.
Well,
But
yeah, I mean, I remember they had the whole thing with George Bush the son,
Yep.
and the Supreme Court and all of that nonsense. And I mean, it's very, very alarming. Not what happened, but the fact that so many people, right, left, or indifferent,
Yep.
okay, see that there is a serious issue with our balloting system, and they're very concerned. And I think that concern of ballot security
Yep.
and the processes and the machines and stuff really needs to be addressed.
Of course it does.
But people don't want to even talk about
No,
that.
and how many people have even heard throughout the media about Maricopa County and what happened? What's happened there lately? I mean, what they found. I mean, Carrie Lake is the one who led the fight, and she was able to find, produce, and prove a whole lot of stuff that people they're not even allowed to listen to. They're not even allowed to
It's not
talk
just
about
there,
it.
Georgia too.
All over the place.
Oh,
Michigan,
man,
Georgia,
Michigan.
Wisconsin.
Oh, Michigan. Oh boy.
I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, Philadelphia
Yeah,
area.
there we go.
I mean,
Pennsylvania and
and
Philadelphia.
the thing is that Philadelphia area has been doing that for 2 decades. We still haven't fixed it.
The guy went to jail. Just what was it? One of the aldermen went to jail there for ballot tampering and stuff. Apparently, he's been doing it for years now. This wasn't for the 2020 election, but this is previous to that.
Yep.
So that was something that I thought was like, wow. Well, if he was doing it then, who knows what else is there? It's something that really needs to be looked at for people to have a conversation
when you
about.
see cardboard go up over the windows and one of the parties kicked out,
it was pizza boxes.
Yes.
At least there was pizza.
Right?
Somebody had pizza.
But you have to think, no matter who you are, independent, right, left, you have to think, why? Why are they doing that? What is going on that they are so insistent that one party cannot go back in there and they can't look through that window? What, I mean, there's got to be a reason. They don't just do that just to...
Now, I'd like to point this out, Brian, to anybody that's listening, especially if you're a Republican. I encourage you to go down to your county board of elections and sign up to be a poll worker.
Yes, that's huge. And they need Republicans.
Election,
they need Republicans.
Especially if you're Republican, because there aren't enough, if you're in Monroe County especially, there aren't enough Republicans. Last year, they had to call in people from high school and independents to work as Republican poll workers and stuff like that. There are just not enough Republicans coming out. And I know it's because a lot of people haven't come back after the COVID years or whatever the case is, because it was largely older people doing it. But many people have just lost faith in the electoral system that anything will change, because they've been voting for so long, they haven't seen anything change. And that's why on this show, we like to talk a lot about how the policies that are going on and being implemented are actually affecting you, whether it be local, national, or international.
Mm-hmm. And half the policies that are really, that most of the population, even the middle left, would find just ridiculous. You know, you're gonna look, pay attention to Friday nights. Pay attention to Friday evening when things are signed, when things are voted on in the state level and local level and even the national level. When they're voted on and produced on a Friday night, they know they're trying to push through something that isn't popular. And it's done quite a bit in the state. I mean, she signed some order the other day that was on a Friday night, real quiet. Real quiet. And it happens way too much. Things should be front and center for us to see at all times.
We've got a lot of crazy stuff that's been passed by her over the last couple of weeks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And this is Kathy Hochul, the High Priestess Kathy that we're talking about right now.
Shattered glass ceilings.
It's very, very disappointing. And I'm disappointed in her and the Democrats in New York State as far as the state legislature and the state Senate goes. They claim that they care about the people in poverty. They claim that they care about black people. They claim that they care about the working class. But let me honestly ask you, if you fall into any of those categories, or you have any friends in those categories, do you feel better off?
Right? Is your life better?
Is your life really any better? Are your concerns that you had since over the last, let's just give them the last 2 years, right?
Yep.
Have your concerns been answered or addressed? Or have they just been telling you that stuff has been happening? Now, I'd like to break out and I'd like to say I appreciate you guys listening to us today. This is The Divide. We're here on WRFZ 106.3 FM, Rochester Free Radio. Let's jump back into it. So this has been going on. Do you feel better off in the last 2 years, Brian?
But that's the thing. You have to, people have to understand. Well, Charles Barkley said it best.
Yeah.
Poor black people have been voting Democrat for 50 years and they're still poor. You know, that was his quote, and it made so much sense because you got to ask yourself, does the Democratic Party want you want your lives to get better? Because then you start to educate yourself, think for yourself. Listen, you're around different people. You're talking to different people. Maybe your views change, or do they want to keep you right where you are?
Well, so now here's and I'm going to tackle that from two sides. I'm going to tackle that from the far left socialist side, which the socialists are taking over many aspects of the Democrat Party.
Oh yeah, a lot of aspects.
Because there aren't enough people that are level-headed individuals standing up and saying that what they're after is wrong, and that what's been being done is not working to actually improve the community. You know, they say that they're for workers and stuff, and they're for unions and stuff. But there are less of those jobs, and they're consolidating unions just so they have more members.
Yeah, right.
Because you can't have a union that's its own. They said the other day I was at somewhere. They said that they wanted the police union to join the SEIU. I said, what? That sounds crazy. Why would they want to be part of that union? That union is not specifically for them. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes. I don't know.
Then additionally, and this isn't a slam at the SEIU or anything like that, it's a large collective of many different subgroups, all with different interests, and it makes me wonder, really, what their enrollment looks like and what the hiring numbers in those individual categories look like, that they're not able to have their own unions that are strong enough to fight for what they need.
Right, so they got to get into the conglomerate. I mean,
This is the problem. Like, at least, like, let's say, for example, the United Auto Union's workers.
Yep.
What do they do? Who do they support?
the auto workers.
Well, that makes sense. know?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
You know, so, but when you're talking about some sort of a conglomerate all together, one thing,
Yeah.
there's no way that you can actually represent
No
all
way,
of the
no
diverse issues and stuff that are going on.
Nope.
And they're trying to say, oh, well, it's strength in numbers, but where does your reputation and your not reputation, but representation go
Yep.
when they start to, what would you say, dilute your actual interests, because you have to think of the collective interests of the whole.
Exactly. And there's so many different, there's so many different types of, industries and types of companies that are involved in it. What makes you think what's good for one is good for another?
Well, but see, and this is something, and I'll use the teachers union as an example. But they're the teachers union.
Yeah, of course.
Like, they're the teachers. I know who they are. I know what they're supposed to represent.
Right.
Now, whether they do it or not is a whole separate
Whatever
question.
Randy's doing is.
Well, they've got the new guy. Didn't they just hire the new guy, or
Yeah.
is the old guy still there?
I can't remember.
The police union got a new guy.
Yeah,
The teachers union's got the same guy, right?
Same
Same
Randy,
guy.
same girl, Randy.
Oh,
whatever.
it's a
yeah.
lady?
Yeah, she's late. She's a. No, she's a lady. She looks like that. She's a lady.
I'm not commenting because I don't know who it is or what they look like.
Randy Weingarten. You'll find her on in every protest, no matter what, if it has to do with the teachers union or not. She's more of a social butterfly, where she shows up on the steps of the Supreme Court to protest.
Oh, you're talking on the federal level.
Yes, on the federal level.
I was talking
yes.
on the local level.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. No,
yeah,
he's a guy. That's a guy. That's definitely a guy. He's got the accent. Can't remember his name, but
yeah, he's been there for 19 million years.
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
He's on Lonsbury a lot.
But the point of the matter is that when you have a union, the union is supposed to work for the betterment of that specific group that it represents.
Correct.
So when they said that the police union should be changed and it should be incorporated into that, I said, well, then that's not going to really serve the values. And this goes back to issues that I have with the teachers union right now and how they're operating, because I look at the teachers union like, you're supposed to represent the teachers, right? So it would be in the best interest of the teachers if the schools were safe. Okay, and
Correct.
I don't see them focusing on anything to do with safety as far as the union goes.
Yeah.
It would be in the best interest.
Believe it or not, the teachers union, the head of the teachers union locally, he does push for the police to be involved. He does push for these things.
That's something.
He does, and he, like I said, he's on Lonsbury a lot, and I actually am kind of impressed with him, because the changes he's made, with his thought process, where he is. I think what he saw was the huge exodus of teachers and all that, and he's realized what needs to happen, and he's for the police to be there. He is, I mean, there's some stuff, don't get me wrong, that I don't agree with what he's saying, but for the most part, he has come around to trying to make it a safer place, but he gets so much pushback from the school board that it's ridiculous.
Don't get me started on the school board. That could be a whole thing on itself.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness, because their biggest thing this year is the illegal aliens. And what was it? There's illegal aliens and emotional wellness or some nonsense like that. I'm like, what is, I hear you, but neither of those things have anything to do with actual education.
No.
Somebody said, oh, well, their emotional wellness, and if they have to go home to a home that's not a good place to live, it affects their education.
No
Fair.
kidding. I mean,
Fair. But what does that have to do with the school? Now you're expanding the schools into a social service program.
Exactly.
Where they're trying to be all,
and you're talking about 80% of the families in the city of Rochester anyways. I mean,
it's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane.
It's
what they're
insanity.
doing.
You're right.
And again, they'll never get the actual education that they need to be a quality person to be able to produce
Nope.
in the system. And now they're talking. I had So I want to touch on this because I got to, because we hit on Democrats a little bit. I'm coming back to you Republicans. Don't think I forgot about you. Okay, and I may be a Republican, but I'm going to stand on my.
When you see something, you got to call it out.
So we talked about reparations the other day as we're coming into the Black History Month here, the shortest month of the year. Okay, which the Pride people, the Alphabet people,
They get 2 months.
They get 2 months and two parades. And the trans people have another month too.
Yep, they get a parade.
So that's crazy to me. There's no America Pride Month, or there's no America Patriotism Month.
No.
You would think that they do that for July, but it's not a thing.
Half the time they don't even have parades anymore for
Don't even get-
Memorial Day and stuff. So.
Wow! Don't get me started there. Don't get me going. But anyway, as we move into this Black History Month, a lot of and if you guys don't live in New York State or in a very blue area, you might not understand what's going on. So we, as somebody that is an active member of the Republican Party, there is no way that Republicans are going to have anything done anywhere, because the policies are all pushed by the Democrats. The Democrats are all the ones that are in power. They have a supermajority. Supermajority.
Yeah,
they control everything. Republicans basically can't do boo.
No, they're there for the view. That's it.
So that's it. So the best that we can do is we can moderate the negotiations and the talks of the way that the conversations are held.
Yeah, and publicize it.
And publicize it. So one of these issues is, let's say, because abortion is one, and we could talk about that, but we're not going to.
Yeah, not
okay.
today.
But reparations is another. Now we know that there is a large number of Black Americans in New York State that are in underserved communities because of policies that have been put forth by the state government.
Correct.
Largely and recently by the Democrat state government, but we're not going to talk about that, okay? But we're going to talk about the fact that the policies that they have put in that they said are supposed to help have not been working. Now, this conversation goes into the reparations conversation that's being had right now. And Senator Ord even said, whatever they come out with this whole board that they're trying to decide on, panel for reparations,
it's a 2-year study.
It's going to be a bad idea because that's how they roll. And that is how they roll. But if Republicans aren't willing to get up and get behind this and say, hey, well, here's our solution to this, then it's not going to go anywhere in a positive
Better
shape.
yet, if the Republicans don't get up and say, listen, I'm going to use some proxy cities and show you whenever this has been done by Democrat majorities, this is how it goes. They spend 2 years looking at it. They come back and say, oh yeah, they should have this. Then nothing happens. Nothing happens. What they're doing is they're trying to get you excited. They're trying to get such people to continue to vote for them.
Yep.
And that's what it is. But you're not going to see one red cent.
Yep.
From when it comes to the reparations. That's the bottom line.
So I put a post up the other day about taxes and how if these people so-called claim to care about the working class and those in poverty, that they'd abolish income tax, because you shouldn't be getting money taken out of your check.
Correct.
If you earned it, you should keep it.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody posted on my post, oh, well then where would people get reparations from? Well, what does that have to do with the conversation?
Right.
That's a completely separate conversation.
I mean, you could say about 18 things. I mean, you don't have to.
So what does that even have to do? So, but the point that this individual was trying to detract from the statement that I was making, which was, and I guess that's because I'm a Black conservative, they felt the ballsiness of this individual to come out and say that.
And let me say, Marcus, real quick. Nobody in this country is treated worse than Black conservatives, and I stand on that 100%. You are treated worse than any white person, than any other Black, Democrat. If you are a Black conservative in this country, you can have someone dress up in a monkey suit and throw eggs at you like what happened to Larry Elder.
Yeah.
I mean, and nothing will be done about it. Nothing will be even shown really about it.
No.
That can happen. Now, if it was the other way around, we know it would be on every news channel. But I just wanted to say that no one's treated worse in this country than a Black conservative.
Yeah, and this is a very serious issue. So this guy, I guess, signaled me out to be his gripe We're to you know, because his panties are in a bunch over them doing reparations. And I'm like, well, what are you trying to say
what,
here?
what is your point?
What
on
is
this
your
whole
point?
thing?
Because you're talking about something that's not even that. Now, I talk about that because I believe very strongly that Republicans need to recognize in New York State and in places like California that we need to change the messaging because the Democrats are driving the messaging.
Yeah, they're controlling
controlling everything. So it's going to be about whatever they want to talk, and it's not going to go away. So if you don't address it, it's going to be, they're going to own everything.
You got to expose it, like I just said, expose the fact that nothing is going to come from the reparations, whatever they call panel and everything. And show them. Look at what happened in San Francisco. Look here. Here's another city. Here's another city. Here's another city. Every time it comes back and they say, yeah, it's a great idea. They should get this much money. And then what happens? Oh, we can't afford it. We're not going to do it. You're not going to get it. Sorry.
So, and that's the crazy thing because, and to the guy, like, I'm like, listen, guy, I've talked about this stuff. Matter of fact, I shared a video last night, I think it was, or maybe the night before, that I did from a year ago about talking about that talking point specifically.
Yep.
You understand? And I talk about this, but this goes to policies and messaging. I believe that if we do not talk about the things that the people in the communities that we're trying to get candidates for actually care about, we're not going to get the seats.
No, of course not.
I mean, and you say, oh, well, conservatives or Republicans won't vote for anybody if they talk about reparations. Well, I mean, did you see the last poll numbers? They weren't really coming out last time.
People aren't too excited about it. I mean,
you're not. I doubt that you're going to lose a ton of people if you say, hey, and this is where what I say should be the push, should be the tax-free.
Yep.
Okay, should be tax-free for Black Americans, and it should be reopening the Homestead Act for New York State-owned land for Black Americans. So neither of those things take any money out of anybody's pocket.
No, nothing at all.
Not a penny.
It actually will improve lives of Black Americans, but that's
and it would actually help, Brian.
Exactly,
oh no, perish that thought. Conservative policy, a conservative policy that would actually help while sticking to conservative values and principles, where it also not only does away with some of the tax that the government is getting, it also does away with some of the regulations that the government is doing, and it does away with the state owning so much public land, which they don't have any business anyway in the first place.
And they want more, and they just want more. They want more of their land. They want to push everybody into an area and then own the rest of the land. But that's another whole nother conversation. I talk about the whole thing. It's no policy that's coming out of the state or even locally is benefiting the people they say it's benefiting. But they use these words in disguise. For example, all these criminal laws that they changed and everything like that. It was always under we are doing this for racial equity and racial and for Black Americans to benefit. But who benefits from bail reform? Just criminals, not Black Americans, criminals, white, black, everyone that's a criminal.
So when we're talking about local issues and local policies, when I first ran for city council, one of my big issues was potholes. Yep. And they tried to make it like that was a funny thing or that was something.
That's not funny at all. People are blowing out their cars and can't afford to fix them.
Can't afford to fix them. So it was a very big, because I talked to the community and it's an issue for me, and I've seen it be an issue with my family and friends. It happened
with me. 2 tires, you know how much expensive it was? I couldn't afford it right then and there.
You gotta get a realignment, you might have to get a new axle.
I'm calling my dad to put money in my Cash App account and stuff. I mean,
because again, and who really has the money, the emergency funds to fix something like that?
Exactly.
But this goes back to, and I put this forth, and they tried to make it like I was some sort of a joke because I was talking about real issues.
Those are real issues that affect people.
And people voted for me in large numbers because I was talking about real issues that were impacting the community.
Yes, as a conservative too, which usually you're lining up to get no votes. I mean, very little votes. Put it that way.
But here's the deal: when it comes to policies, I went the other day to a meeting. I think I talked about this last week. I was going to go to one, but I went to it, and they talked about, they were going to redo all the streets and make it better because they're doing some redevelopment over there now. I don't care. Give a flying monkey's uncle about the new development. I want you to fix the roads now. You telling me you about to fix the roads for later?
Well,
what is going on
they
now?
They talk about taking out the interloop and everything to make it like they did with the other. But did you see the area where what they've done where the interloop was? Do you think Black Americans from Clinton Avenue are coming to hang out in that area?
I just want to know, Brian, can you afford a place over there?
No.
No.
You see those places?
Listen, they're charging like $350,000.
Right, that really connects the community. Like
they
want
it's
to
reconnect the community. When you have to pay $350,000 for a 2-bedroom townhouse, are you outside of your mind?
Right.
I'm going to live on Park Ave for that. You understand what I'm saying?
You can walk. You can walk from Upper Falls to downtown and just cross the interloop, but you're not allowed to walk through those places. Yeah, right. I mean, it's reconnecting communities with high-end stuff that only affluent people can afford. I mean, it's crazy.
It's not so, and this goes into other policies because we're talking about citywide policies right now. I mean, we've got issues that people have complaints about the parking policies that are so terrible, which those are really bad. Don't get me started on that.
They are.
But we've got issues with the snow plows, which they've actually worked over the last, because I've banged that drum enough. They've actually started to work on that, and they tried to pretend they worked on the
We had issues with now somebody stepped up. I heard a little bit about somebody stepping up in offering training classes for underprivileged areas to own guns.
Well, yeah. So we've got a couple of people. So the Firing Pin and the Rochester African American Rifle Association for Rochester right here. Over the weekend, they had I don't know what you call it, a symposium of where they had a group collective class of over 900 people.
That's awesome.
It is fantastic.
That is awesome.
Do a course at the Kodak Center, which amazingly somebody got robbed outside of the Kodak Center after that. It would have helped if they had their concealed carry permit,
where are the people that ran it? I'm sure they have theirs. I know the guy from the Firing Pin has it.
So this is the craziness that we're dealing with in our area, and I honestly put forth that the city and the state should, not the state, but the city and the county should subsidize those for everybody that lives inside the city and the county.
I so agree with that.
They throw money at everything else.
That would be something actually beneficial.
Yeah.
That would reduce crime.
Yes,
believe
sir.
it or not. Oh no, it's going to increase crime. No, so law-abiding citizens get a gun and all of a sudden they're going to be criminals? No, that doesn't work like that.
There is so many people that have firearms out there right now illegally because they feel like they need them for protection.
Yeah.
And those are decent, good people.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who have firearms out there that illegally that aren't decent, good people. And what happens, and this is the best one, when we have our mayor or we have Kathy Hochul say, we've taken this many guns off the street. And I'm laughing because I'm like, yeah, you took a gun off the street, but you put the guy back on the street who went and just got another gun.
Yeah, and I've always been like, are they selling these guns?
Right.
Can I have it?
Right. Where's it going?
Where is it going? And
are you arming all the Democrats secretly?
I don't know what's going on with them. Like I just would figure, if they can't look. Maybe get a new barrel or whatever, so you can.
Yeah, right.
So you can get it. How much does it cost? Like, but we've closed down all of the gun manufacturers in New York State.
Do you see what Remington did? I mean, Remington was like they put that announcement out there, that press release, and it said straight up, it said, we are moving to Georgia, a more friendly state for our company and our business. And we this was their
30 years.
This was their oldest place here in Oneonta, was it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's insane. They didn't want to move. And believe it or not, that town is going to suffer huge because they have so many employees from there, and it's going to crush that town.
Policies.
Exactly. I mean, and they said it straight up. This is due. They literally could have done it with a short sentence saying this is due to Democratic policies, but they said it in more words. They put together a very nice, not nice, but very straightforward letter that basically said the policies of this state have driven us out to a state that is more friendly to us and our industry.
So I want to know from the Republicans on the state level, if the state wants to continue to put in these restrictions and they want to throw money, since they got $2.5 billion extra to throw at illegal aliens, are you willing to stand up and put a bill forth that actually pays for the the training course for people to get their firearms permits legally? Are you willing to have them pay for the permitting
Yeah.
process on
I mean,
their
because she
local-
made
are
it
you-
more expensive
Yeah.
already.
Is there a tax deduction that they could get maybe?
Anything, just to be honest, like you said the first time, it should be that. It should be there should be a bill out there saying that people who are in crime-riddled areas
Yeah.
that where crime's above a certain
Yeah.
percentage should be able to get their training free of cost.
Yes.
Bottom line,
Yeah.
that's it.
Well, the state shouldn't, let's be very clear, the state shouldn't be charging for that stuff.
No,
anyway.
absolutely not.
The Second
Absolutely
Amendment should not be infringed. You should not have to go through all of that process. And listen, if you are very strong Second Amendment, or if you're very strong on training or gun safety or whatever, you feel the way that you feel. I feel that way too. I feel you. Gun safety is important. Training is important.
Yep.
Practice is important. All of that's very important to me. However, you should not have to do any training or anything to go out and purchase a firearm because. Not
Yep.
because of my personal feeling, because of the Second Amendment.
Exactly.
Because of the Second Amendment.
And it's truly that simple.
That's
It's truly
it.
that simple. Because yes, we should still offer those courses for people to take it. People will take it. But the fact is, you should be able to go purchase. If you are a woman who is scared because somebody's threatening you, and literally the place, the city, the cops, everyone's going to do nothing about it because that's what happens. You should be able to go purchase a gun immediately to defend yourself.
You ever seen those movies where somebody isn't used to using a firearm, but they immediately need to defend themselves, and
Yeah.
the person gives them a gun, and they're like, all you have to do is you have to point and pull the trigger. Essentially, essentially, that's how firearms
Absolutely.
work.
I saw a video the other day. It was great. This lady's in a minivan. She's backing out of her driveway, and three guys come up, and from each side, right side, left side. They get to the thing. She rolls down the window, and she pop. They had their guns in their hands.
Yeah.
She shot the first one. Then she shot the one on the passenger side. The one in the back was out. He was out already, and they ran. All three of them took off running. Guess what? They're not coming back there after her.
No. And almost all confrontations where there's a law-abiding citizen that's carrying is within less than 5 yards.
Yes.
Okay,
How about
so
that lady?
that's-
How about that lady who was a lunch lady at Olympia who, had a law-abiding, never had a crime. She had her gun. She ended up going to jail.
Yeah.
Because it was
Where they
nonsense.
got attacked in the parking lot, right? They followed
she
her
got
to the
followed by
parking
some
lot.
guy, and
Yes,
she went to her.
yes.
It's not like she was carrying it in the lunchroom or
And
something.
she was legally carrying. She had her permit.
And she was scared. All she did was pull it out, and the guy left. And that was that's all she had to do.
Yeah.
And guess what? It worked. It worked. What she had that gun for worked. The reason. And guess what? She gets in trouble.
Yeah, and I put this out there, right? Where to all of the people that are like, oh well, you should have to get the trainings before you get the guns. Well, then the training should be free.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. Bottom line.
And that's period. And if that's the way that you really feel, I need to point out, and I definitely 100% encourage you guys to go out and practice and train and do this consistently. However, if you are in your home, if you are using it for basic protection, okay, and unless you're like closing your eyes when you're shooting,
Mm-hmm.
if it is a very short distance that you are shooting in, okay, in general, you should be able to hit your target.
Yes, and you know what? The places that sell you these guns, they don't just they go over everything.
You
with
don't
you.
go, yeah,
You-
you don't.
I mean,
You're
come
not
on.
going into this completely blind.
No, you're not. You're not at all. And most people who are getting a firearm, they want to get trained. They
Yes,
want to be able
yes.
to fire. So it's not like they're just gonna get it and be like, I when it comes, I'll figure it out.
Well, but
no one's gonna say that. I'll
then-
figure it out when it
Yeah.
happens.
Then there's the other circumstance where if the concern is, oh well, if you don't know how to shoot or whatever the case is, you won't be able to shoot if something happens or whatever the case is. Let me tell you how many people are in very serious, intense situations where they're not able to function even though they're fully trained.
Yep.
Because
their
people-
body shuts down.
Yeah, their body
I mean,
shuts
literally, you go
Yeah.
through an anxiety thing where it's like fight or flight,
Exactly.
and your body wants to flight, but you can't even
And
move.
Absolutely. So I mean, that's not necessarily, and this isn't even just talking about that.
No.
This is talking about it if you're somebody that builds tunnels or
Yep,
something
yep,
like
yep.
that. You're fully trained on survival and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
and stuff goes
stuff
goes
goes
bad.
wrong,
Yeah, I mean,
you know.
You're right. Absolutely. I mean, you could be the top expert in New York State on heights and height safety, and when something beam breaks or something,
Yeah.
you freeze up like
Yeah.
never before, and people are looking at you like for help, and you don't know what to do because It just happens.
Yeah.
You can't help it. And it can happen with a gun. It can happen with anything. Like you said, it can happen with your car. Somebody carjacks you and you just don't know what to do. You have a gun sitting right there to defend yourself, and you could run them over or whatever.
Listen,
you just sit there.
I have seen the videos where the people try to rob the people or whatever the case is, and they're like, give me your keys or whatever the case is. The person just freezes. Like, I'm sure that they would comply if they weren't frozen.
Yeah, you get the gun out of their cheek, and maybe they're gonna comply.
You know, like your brain just shuts down, and it's a high pressure situation.
And your body you literally think you're gonna die. They'll squeeze up like this and stuff, and it's just.
You know, I have friends. So I come from a military family, but I have friends and stuff that are in the Marines also. And one of my friends that was in the Marines, you know, they had all this training and stuff. But when they went out and they went to go into a firefight in an urban area, they're like, I just wasn't prepared for the stress of that situation, even though we had so much training.
And that happens a lot. You're right. With firefighters was a great example because, I mean, that does happen quite a bit. I mean, there's that whole instance on where those kids died a while back. Remember? And they just kind of brought that back up. And because I guess that lady got out of prison, now she wants to, you know, sue, which I don't understand how. But that what happened? They put the ladder to the wrong window, and they couldn't get through. But it was a high pressure situation. Once they figured that out, they moved it over, and it wasn't going to matter anyways. The fire was still blazing hot. That unfortunately those kids were going to perish anyways. But the point is, they like re-brought this up for these guys, and these guys were on a different radio show, and they said a couple of them. They said, you know, in a situation like that, you don't know what you're gonna do. Like nobody here can tell us, oh well, I would have done this, I would have done that. No, you don't know. You have no clue what you would do in a situation like that. So,
I take it like this, right? Let's say you're a professional fighter. Let's say you get mugged by 8 guys in 2 different vehicles. You don't know if they have weapons. There's more of them than you.
Right.
It's only you. And you're not sure what's going on. So now any professional fighter will tell you that your best use of assets is to run.
Yes, correct.
Is to run. So what type of level of pressure are you going to do if you're unarmed in a situation like that? What are you going to do? Most people wouldn't be able to handle a situation like that. They'd shut down.
Yep, your legs turn almost to jello. I mean, I've had it happen to me before in a situation. You literally you want to run, you can't run. I know a couple guys. I know a guy. I was at his house, and this kid came over. He wasn't into really good things, but he came over, and I had gone home for the night, and all of a sudden. He comes out of my friend's house with my friend, and this guy comes up with a gun and says, "Give me your." He used to carry a box around because he was dealing some stuff.
Yeah.
Give me that box. And my one friend said he closed his eyes. He said, "I don't have anything." All he had was mesh shorts on and stuff. Yeah. So the guy with the box of the other kid took off running. Now this kid had a .22. He didn't know how to shoot, but he shoots from 20 feet away, hits him in the head and kills him. Now. To be honest, that was a 1 in 1,000 chance of him hitting him. This kid just fired. But to be honest, his best chance to survive was probably running.
Yeah.
Or giving him the box, which he should have done.
But see, no, you can't even do that anymore. This guy at a store the other day, and they robbed the store. Is it still going? No, is it still recording?
Yeah,
They robbed this guy. Yeah, they robbed this guy at a store the other day, and they shot the guy right in the head dead after he gave them all the money.
And that happens a lot. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, in New York City, though, if you defend yourself, and you're going to be in some trouble too. I mean, you saw that one guy who stabbed the guy. You know, after he just got done with all the nonsense. He's fine. He had to go through a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
it's crazy, but
it's really sad.
It's really sad. It's. You know, there was a topic I really wanted to get to, but I'm gonna wait for it till next week because it's kind of big. Talking about fatherless homes and 1-parent homes, and 70% of Rochester, it falls into that. And what DeSantis and Dungy did down in Florida.
Well, what did DeSantis and Dungy do?
I think I'm gonna wait till next week to talk about it. Yeah, because there's a lot. There's a lot there. There's a lot of substance there. And then believe it or not, they were called racists for doing this. but it's worked. So we'll talk about that next week.
Which is another very big, important topic when it comes to what small, centralized, focused local issues are.
Yes,
And how
exactly.
you can deal with them. Because one of the biggest things that we have right now is they tell you to get rid of your baby or whatever the case is in New York State, or you don't have to have kids or whatever. When we should be incentivizing having children.
Right?
You know, they're like,
But they're saying, but you got the Congress people saying we need these illegal immigrants because we don't have enough, we're not reproducing at a big enough level.
Yep. And that's another big issue instead of incentivizing that. And the Republicans, a big issue that we have as Republicans is the messaging isn't that we have all these services for you.
Exactly.
If you're suffering, if you're concerned, or whatever the case is, or if you're a new parent.
Yeah. Why is it that Compass Care gets no funding at all from the government? But
yeah, well, I mean, these are the conversations as far as the resources that already are pre-existing.
Exactly.
That we have that are either church run or run by private people.
That people don't know about
people don't know about, that are in the communities that Republicans can seize on and
we've
say, hey,
been really bad with the messaging.
These are conservative organizations that do care. These are the ones that provide help with food, help with housing, help with clothes for you if you're a new parent or you're a new family.
Yes.
And that's the way that we actually start working.
And we should be incentivizing, two-parent homes instead of pushing that away. Which is what basically, when welfare came into existence, that's what it really did. It pushed single family, single parent homes. That's ridiculous.
That was the whole point of because they wanted to break up the nuclear family.
Exactly.
That was a very big thing.
When it came apart, when it started, trust me, you can look at this. This is a fact. The black community had a higher percentage of two-parent homes than the white community did. Yep. And that's a fact. True. But now, I mean, it's been all the plan work, put it that way.
Well, I mean, so between that, you've got the media, you've got the Planned Parenthood, you've got the education system.
Yeah, well, I mean, when your number one issue that you're dead set on is, abortion. I mean, you got to wonder, like, why? Why are you so dead set on this? It's.
But it's not really. See, and here's a bigger picture, right? Because abortion goes into eugenics, and now they've got the medically induced death, right? So they want,
right.
This is in
New
Canada.
York State. In Canada, they have.
It's coming in New York State. They're trying to push it through the assembly right now, where if you're sick or if you're ill, they're like, it's okay. You can just have a death.
Right.
Have it like that's a prescription.
It's sick because
it's not even Dr. Kevorkian.
No, they're doing parties in Canada and everything for these people. They had a commercial that they showed on Fox that it showed a young girl who had cancer. She was gonna die, and it shows her on the beach, healthy, and she said, the best days of my life can be remembered because I'm never gonna have to go through the worst. And it said. Then it showed the day she died, and it showed her having a party for her upcoming death. Yeah. Dude, I mean, talk about creepy. Like,
yeah. But this is because they don't want you to live. I mean, the less people, the more power they have control over people.
And the less educated people who are informed of what's going on.
But they're doing the same exact thing with the alphabet agenda. It's because they don't want you to know who you are.
Exactly.
And it started off with really simple. And it always starts off really simple.
Of course.
They're like, oh, well, you're gay, you're homosexual, whatever the case is, you like the opposite sex.
Yep.
And then they're like, oh, well, you don't have to be in the body that you were born in. You're born in the wrong body.
And then it's
that's a whole coup.
Right?
Whoa.
Then it's like, it's like you gotta, that's your difference from other people, even though every other part of your is the same. You need to celebrate that every day. You need to make sure you have a flag in your window. You need to make sure you have, you tell every shirt you wear is this is your identity.
Because
exactly.
the identity that you were born with is not your actual identity.
No. So, your diversity of thought no longer matters. It's all about whether if you're black or gay or this or that. That's what matters.
The real problem there is that you now lose sense of self.
Yes.
So now you're more easily manipulated and stuff like that. That's why you see
and anger, and you're angry. You're angry all the time.
Because people won't accept me for who I believe that I feel like I am.
And you don't want to be part of my group. You don't want to be part of it. No, it's just that we have so much in common that doesn't include sexual preference. So why don't we talk about that?
Well, because it's gone past sexual preference.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not even sexual preference anymore. If they identify as a bird, they want some bird seed.
It's insane.
And I
it's
say
insane.
that, and you think it's a joke. That is not a joke.
No.
This is
I
real
mean,
life
look at
stuff.
that one teacher that I think that's in Canada, right?
Mhm.
That's with the big.
With the fake boobs.
Yeah.
The,
I mean, that's
size Z.
Come on, though. Like that's
So,
not right. That's
They
not
showed
normal.
him out without the stuff on, and then he ended up getting fired. There's a whole thing. There's a whole thing. But it's but it's not funny, because what they're doing is they're teaching, especially the youth, to lose sense of self.
Yes,
and then you wonder why the suicide rate is up, and they say, well, the suicide rate is so high in trans kids and in the gay community and stuff like that. That's because you keep telling them
exactly.
that they are not who they are, and that gives them an identity crisis.
We aren't killing it. We're saying that a child shouldn't have access to that until they're 18 is not killing anybody. Actually, it's completely the opposite. And Leslie Stahl, of all people, exposed that on 60 Minutes. And of course, she was blasted by by half the population. But the fact is, she exposed. So did Obama. That you are more likely to commit suicide if you get hormonal or surgical treatment before the age of 18 than if you don't. That's a fact.
I mean, can we be honest, and can we go back? And I know people are going to be like, oh, this is a stereotype or whatever. The whole concept traditionally of why women shouldn't be in power is that they are more emotional because of their hormones. Okay? So you'd wonder, is there some type of truth to that? Well, we have every month when women get on their period, their hormones tend to become imbalanced, and then they tend to get more emotional. So
he said that, Debbie.
I said,
no, it's true.
It's
I know
true,
what you're
though.
saying. Yeah.
So now you've got these people. Now that's just your body, right? So that's your body doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So as your body does that, that's your body, right? So you start to get an understanding on this is how your body works.
Exactly.
Like
so you can control everything.
You can and you can go past it. But now they're putting artificial hormones in you.
Yep.
So if real hormones, when they're imbalanced, do that, what happens when it's artificial hormones that don't even belong in your body?
Let me put it like this, okay? So if you have low testosterone as a man, you have symptoms, and one of the main symptoms is depression, and you are, you're gaining weight, you're depressed a lot, your mental illnesses, if you have them, come screaming to the front. For example, I had low testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
Went to my doctor, said I can't lose weight anymore. I said I'm depressed all the time.
Yeah.
So she checked it, low testosterone. Now I get the right amount, and I feel great.
Right.
But my point being is, if you take a young, an adolescent, someone in their teens, and you take that testosterone out of their body when they're a male, that's what's going to happen. I mean, just naturally, they're going to fall into that. Most of them will fall into that same type of cycle, same type of issue, and now you put the estrogen in there, it's going to change. Their body's it's not used to that. That's not their natural hormone.
It's not programmed for that, It's like trying to play a PlayStation game on an Xbox.
Yeah,
it's just not going to work.
Supposed to. It's just not.
You're not, and this is the problem. I'm glad that there are so many of these new detransitioners and stuff that are coming to the forefront to actually speak up. Like, what's the girl's name? Chloe.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
And there are more and more people that are starting to stand up and talk about the harms that are being done to society, not just in that realm.
Yes, in a lot of different areas.
In a lot of different areas where they're trying to get you to no longer understand and identify as who you are as a human individual.
People who are just very angry if they listen to the show just now. There was no reason to be angry, but people will hear this and they'll call in and complain afterwards. And it's like, wait a minute, why? What? Because
you're offended by your what do they say? By what your feelings are,
First of all, nobody can hurt your feelings. We can break your arm, break your leg, that hurts, but your feelings can't get hurt. Only you.
Tell me what we said that would be so wrong.
Exactly.
When they change your hormones inside your body with artificial hormones that aren't supposed to be there, bad stuff happens.
Unpredictable things happen.
What do they call that? Oh my goodness, what is it called? Unintended consequences,
yes,
right?
Exactly. And that's a fact. It just happens.
Then Lord forbid that we actually talk about the side effects of many of these drugs that aren't being used for their original intended purposes, but are now being used for these type of purposes, and then you wonder why there's so many imbalances. I saw a thing, and we got to get ready to tie up here, but I saw a thing the other day where they said that there are a lot, it was like thousands, it was like tens of thousands of toddlers are on antidepressants.
Oh my God! Oh, we need to do a whole show on that. On this era of, okay, if I have a little bit of seasonal depression, boom, you're taking whatever Prozac. If you have this, oh, you're nervous about a plane ride. Here's Xanax. Take it forever. You know, it's like no. Anxiety is a natural emotion you're supposed to have in situations where. Now, if you have an anxiety disorder and it affects your life on a daily basis, that's a totally different story. Let's talk about medicating you, but. No, not everybody.
Well, I mean, imagine if you were to ask about the real things, like, did you get outside?
Yes,
did you get to exercise?
Yes. Are you getting vitamin D from the sun?
Did you eat right today?
Did
you get any water?
Eating sugar and staying in the basement all day long?
I mean, have you socialized at all today?
Yes,
the important things that help you feel much more of a part of the human civilization as a whole, because we are social animals.
Exactly.
And with that, I'd like to leave you guys with this thought, something to think about for later. Do you, as an individual, feel like you are able to socialize with those around you in a positive and engaging manner, or is most of the interactions you're having combative? I'd like to hear from you guys next week. Drop us a line. You can find.
In that, I want to add one more thing.
What you
in
got?
that, I want to hear if are you able to actually say what's really on your mind, or do you have to hold back your opinions because you feel like they're not accepted socially? Throw me a text 585-802-0757. I always give that number out. I always welcome text messages. Please, if you hate me, if you like me, if you want to, be a guest, or if you want to give me an answer on what I just said, please, 585-802-0757.
All right, you guys, thank you for listening to The Divide today on WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio with Marcus C. Williams and
Brian McKenzie. See you next week.
See you next week.
Cool. That was a good show, man.
Why did it do that? I always click the then it did it switch.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's weird. Yep, we're off.
I don't know why this is rolling.
Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys. If you guys have any comments, questions, or anything like that, or any topics you'd like us to talk about, drop a comment below. I'll catch you guys later. Be blessed, be well, and remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up.
Oh, yeah.